Mahalo no ko Nohona me mākou I ke Kiaʻi. Thank you so much for joining us this evening for our Hanai Kiaʻi Roundtable. And the mana'o nui, or the subject that we're going to be covering and talking about, is ka nohona Hawaiʻi. Nohona means to live, to exist, to be. Ka nohona Hawaiʻi is the Hawaiian existence lifestyle that all of our guests, including myself, have chosen in their life, to be their life. And so tonight we wanted to share some of our journey, our mo'olelo, and trials, tribulations, all the good stuff in between with all of you. We understand that a lot of you are at different stages of Olelo Hawaiʻi, and so we really wanted to create a nice welcome open space that we can talk about these type of things that really need to be talked about. So I'm going to start by ho'olauna, or introducing our wonderful guest that I'm super hauʻoli to have tonight with us. First, we have Kaliko Baker, PhD, Kauka Baker of Pali Hauliuli o Nako'olau. And he's a Kauka, or a Doctor of Linguistics, and has been a Kumu Olelo Hawaiʻi, or a Hawaiian language instructor in Kawaihuelani Center for Hawaiian Language at the University of Hawaii at Manoa since 1996, and currently holds an assistant professor position. He also co-authors Hawaiian medium plays, or hanakiaka, with his wife and mother of their two keiki, Tami Haili'opua Baker. Olelo Hawaiʻi is the first language of their keiki. Since obtaining his PhD, Kaliko has been writing and researching primarily in the space of Kanaka Maoli identity. Currently, he is the president of a nonprofit organization, Halele'a Arts Foundation, which strives to promote Hawaiian medium theatrical and other media projects. Kaliko is a long-time PKO, or Protect Kaho'olawe Ohana member, the grassroots organization that stopped the U.S. Navy's bombing and desecration of Kaho'olawe. Aloha mai e Kaliko.
Aloha kako.
So wonderful to have you.
I totally would have cut that in half if I knew it was going to be this part.
No, it's all good. It's hard, yeah, when you
that was for the pepper.
Some pretty cool stuff in your life, you know. Next, we have Kalehua Krug, who is probably from Waianae Coast on the island of Oahu. His ohana lived in Nanakuli for generations. He currently resides in Lualualei with his three keiki, who have been raised with Olelo Hawaiʻi as the primary language spoken at home. He has worked at Kaiapuni Immersion as a teacher, a Hawaiian language teacher education in, is that Pololei? A Hawaiian language teacher education at the University of Hawaii at Manoa, and transitioned to become the administrator of the Hawaiian Language Immersion Program of the Department of Education in 2014. In 2019, Kalehua became the principal of Kawaihona o Kana'oau Public Charter School. He studies indigenous philosophy and worldview, and utilizes Hawaiian cultural traditions as a mechanism to build a more sustainable future for our children and our environment. He's a practitioner of kakau, traditional Hawaiian tattooing, and is also a Hawaiian musician with the most beautiful leo nahe nahe. So aloha mai e Kalehua. And last we have Mike Kane, my partner for life, Hano Hano. For the last 22 years, Hano Naehu has been a Kiaʻi loko, a fish pond guardian on the island of Molokaʻi, Hawaii, where he was born and raised as a paniolo. Hano, as he is referred to, is also a community educator teaching ancient concepts in land stewardship and resource management. His ocean conservation work has allowed him to represent and be a voice for Hawaii and indigenous Pacific Islanders alike. He is also the director of Hui o Kuapa 501c3, 501c3, a nonprofit that began in 1989 through the kokua of Uncle Walter Riddy, and its mission is to restore local i'a or Hawaiian fish ponds, which we're still doing till today. As an avid activist and artist for Aloha Aina, he translates his passions through hip-hop and lyrical messages under his MC name, the Paniolo Prince. Together with me, Maile Naehu, his wife, We have 3 keiki, all of which are bilingual, English and Olelo Hawaiʻi speakers. So aloha mai e hano hano.
Hey,
Hi, aloha,
aloha,
Mike.
everybody.
Aloha.
Yes,
Mahalo. Well, I'd like to start off with our first ni nao. And just to give you guys a little sense of what we're talking about tonight is how do we foster or build a sense of kanohona Hawaii or Hawaiian lifestyle, Hawaiian existence in your home, in your life, in your ohana. So Ninau Ekahi, our first question or the Ninau Mua is, can you share, I'm gonna switch the order around. So for this one, we'll start with Kalehua, since you're the first guy I see up there. Ninau Ekahi, can you share about your upbringing? Were you exposed to Hawaiian practices or language while growing up? And what was the event, person, or mea that inspired you to choose Kanohona Hawaii as your way of life, Kalehua?
Hey, aloha mai kākou. Mamua o ka hou maka mai maki wau e pene epu ka umahalo ia oe, i maile, a me hano hano. A me kia hou kipa mai ka ia ni mi a mau o mea kaliko. Kia hiahi e kuka kuko ia i na ki mau mea hui loa, hui loa o ka hou paa ana. No ka lahui e no ka honua hou o koa. No lira. Yeah, I can tell you a little bit. As it pertains to culture and language, you know, I always hold my tutu. So my tutu, our family's from Puko'o, Molokai, and they moved out and landed in Nanakuli. And so a lot of the exposure that I think I had to culture and then just terminology and language comes from the practices of my ohana that settled in Nanakuli, as far as the imu. And then my tutu, she's from the Duwashel line, but her name is Irene. I call her Tutu Irene, Tutu Pa'o. And she was a member of the church Kamauna Oliveta, which was a subsidiary of Te Kua Maulua, which was a Hawaiian language church. So we used to go to church when I was a young boy. We drive all the way out to Waikane every Sunday, and there were a lot of folks in there that were actually native speakers, Mana Lea, and some of the sermon and all of the mele that we used to sing was all in Olo Hawaii. And so I think I always uphold her as a catalyst by which I used to reflect my own identity upon. And she was a very strong advocate for culture. She spoke highly of our ancestors, but also of the loss that she felt and some of the changes that she went through in life. And so she's actually the person I uphold as the catalyst that keeps my fire going even to today.
That was beautiful, straight to the point. It was tutu, not tutu, not tutu. Ai, mai kai, mahalo. So I'll bring this ni now, or this question to Hano Hano. So Hano Hano, can you share about your upbringing and were you exposed to Hawaiian practices or language? And what was the event, person, or mea that inspired you to choose Kanohana Hawaii as your way of life?
While I was listening to Kalehua's story, if I go and shoot the target, my target is my papa Jules. He was the man. He was a huge Hawaiian man with a huge, even huger heart. And he was the best fisherman we knew. He kept the family tight. He was on Paniolo. He could dive and find squid without goggles, just eyeball. You know what I mean? He was amazing. He even would try out for the San Francisco 49ers with his best friend, Willie Kaupu. But he married one beautiful Okinawan wahine, made my parents. And by the time we were born and we were brought up, I think the only thing we knew wasn't Hawaiian was basketball, baseball, hamburgers, hot dogs, movie theaters, but everything else, all of the cousins, the way we play, the way we act, the way we go do stuff as a family, the way you treat each other, going to church. Like Molokai was kind of easy for be that Hawaiian. If you want fisherman, you Hawaiian. if you go hunt, you want Hawaiian. And so the very basic forms of that, Molokai had plenty of. Somewhere at some time before I was 8 years old, my papa relayed to my mom that what pilikia with what happened to our kingdom and our culture. And of his 7 children, his favorite being my mom, you gotta go find out more. Because we was American to the max, but we were still very Hawaiian. So when mom started finding out more, I started going to these Ohana Council meetings, Kalahui Hawaii meetings, and there was a few of us kids growing up in this new version of being Hawaiian. Hawaiian wasn't just about being on fisherman anymore, being on lo'ifama. But the thing was about these monarchs that were so intelligent that they were speaking international law, friends with other monarchies and kingdoms around the planet, and growing up, I was caught in this world where, like, wow, Molokai, you can be the most basic form of Hawaiian, and you find out about the kingdom, but what I never have growing up was the language. And even when I was offered the language in high school, I never really do good. And throughout my life, this attaining the language has been very difficult. So when I saw my wahine with the language, and one chance for go make one family that has the language, I fell madly in love with my wahine, and I threw everything I knew about being Hawaiian in the ocean, in the river, in the mountains, on the dinner table, how to keep you safe, how to be strong and tough. I was bringing all of that, for whatever my wahine wanted to do with the language and with our kids growing up in the language and surrounded by nature and being, one chance for be Hawaiian every second.
I really love that point that you made. You actually said a word that really went kind of when you said I knew how to be the most basic form of Hawaiian, and I think that's one of the things that we want to kind of kapai today. We want to get rid of that mentality because there's so many different ways that we can be Kanaka.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that you don't know Olelo does not mean that you're any less than, and I could even argue to say growing up on Molokai, you got a lot more than a lot of us ever got as Kanaka. So, Imai made the joke when I was talking to Imai Kalani about having you guys all in this room together. I said, I'm so excited to have all of them in a room together to wala'au. And, I said, we have 2 PhDs, Maka Olelo, really, and then, Hano, who hasn't learned Olelo, but he's always surrounded by it, and he surely lives as in Nohona, Hawaiʻi. And then Imai joked, and he said, I don't think any of these guys would say that one is more Kanaka than the other. And I was like, I really love that. And so that's where we always coming from. And so that brings me to Kaliko. Can you please share a little bit about your upbringing? Were you exposed to Hawaiian practices and the language, and what was the event, person, or mea that inspired you to choose Kanohona Hawaii as the way? It is the way.
Oh yeah. Aloha nui kākou. E like me kākale hua, e homaka e no wau me ke ia leo mahalo. Ya oai maile ko kono ana mai malalo o ka hale hoaka, ka leka uruale ana mai I mai kalani me ke noi ana e komo I loko kia papahana. Ua nui ka hano me oe e hano ke aloha. Ke koa kaulana o Molokai nui a hina, a me ku koko olua, o kalehua, Nohoala, Ikala'i, Oluolua, Aloha no oe. Kalehua stole my line. I was going to say he's on PhD in Aina. Oh, that's okay, my kai. But we thinking the same thing. I mean, us guys, we in PhD at the university, but, it's probably, you got more cracks being on PhD on the Aina, I tell you that. Well, that's more rough. Okay, there's a lot of ike for the whole pa'a on the Aina, so, yeah. Never sell yourself short. Never. Yeah, so Maikai, mahalo. I mean, I understood where he was coming from. It seems simple, but it is not. It is totally not. Okay, so back to the question, which was that inspirational sort of time where I decided to commit. After hearing my fellow panelists' stories, I feel like those dreams where you're in a situation and it's embarrassing. That's the dream. That's what I feel like right now. Most times they talk about being kohana or whatever. It's like that dream because these guys. I mean, Kalehua had the Hawaiian church, Waikane. Hano has the whole life. And I'm over here, I'm thinking, what was my incredible story? And I'm like, oh, this is like those dreams, bro. Those dreams prepare you for this moment. Okay, so with that, I'll say perhaps my experience was a little later in life. I went to Castle over here on the windward side, Oahu, Kaneohe. And I went Heia King School, Castle High School, DOE, hard. And, I just knew I had friends. I didn't even know who was Hawaiian or who was not. When I would turn around and look back and I was in college, everybody was pretty much Hawaiian except for a couple Filipinos, couple Samoans, and then the band, which was primarily Asian. So it was a nice safe space. It was good for them, Maikai. But it was a small population within our school, within the schooling system that I went through on this side. I never really even thought about race so much. I mean, I'm white. I mean, you can see I'm pretty fair. So, I mean, I was only Hawaiian because Dad went Kamehameha. Grandma was all Hawaiians, right? Everybody was Hawaiian. I knew that. Not everybody else knew that. So I guess my story, I guess a little bit of my dad, my Hawaiian side. My dad was, what is like a 62 Kamehameha. Never graduate Kamehameha, he got kicked out. Then he went Punahou, got kicked out. Then he went Kailua and got kicked out. So that's my dad. That's the stock that I come from. And then he went Navy, and they wanted to kick him out. So yeah, because he tested too high and somebody got kicked out. So and then he played football over there, and he had his 49ers moment as well. So we share a common thread there. Yeah, I guess that skips a generation or three. I'm not too sure. Okay, joke. Almost, okay. Nolela. Oh, yeah. So anyway, Kako. So my late bloomer story. Here we go, Mako Kau. So I was already in Olelo, Hawaii at UH. And I had some friends that was going Kaho'olawe, and they come back with their stories about how changed they were after going Kaho'olawe. And I was Kaho'olawe curious at the time. It was 92. Yes, that's a funny use of that, I know. Okay, intended funny use. Okay, so I was Kaho'olawe curious at the time, and I asked, how do we get there? And they said, you got to take the Kaing, Professor McGregor's course, Hawaiian Ethnic Studies 221. And, you're going to have a choice. You can either write a paper or go to Kaho'olawe. So I was like, duh, I'm going to take that class, and I'm going to go to Kaho'olawe. and we went, was opening Makahiki in 1993. And we went there, and I was with a whole bunch of Hawaiian language guys, actually. Because there's a strong connection between Kapapahana Olelo Hawaii, Mamanoa, and Kaho'olawe. Because of Uncle Harry Mitchell and his work with Kaho'olawe and his work with opening Kapapalo'i o Kanewai, and then the Hawaiian language students in the early 80s working to open up Kanewai. And so I went, we was like Hawaiian language, a lot of like maybe 10 of us Hawaiian language students at the time from Manoa, and was over there talking Hawaiian and everything, and had just happened to have like some Lua folks that was over there, like KL Moku guys was there, and then so I just remember being pulled aside by them at the last day, and they said, "Oh, you coming back for closing or what?" And I was like, I don't know. I'm like 21, right? I'm 21. I don't know what I'm doing. And he was like, you said, you open something, you got to close them. I said, genius. Yes, you start something, you finish, and you go hard. You go full on, you pin it, you send it, and you go. So I've applied that to my Olelo Hawaii, and I'm still mo'olono on Kaho'olawe. That's what I do.
Oh, Kaliko, I heard so much similarities in our stories. That's amazing, because I wasn't raised Maka Nohona, Hawaiʻi. My mother is Puerto Rican. My mother is Borinqua, born and raised in Kalihi Valley. My father is Kanaka, Pake, and Hukiki. He's Portuguese. But my father was not. He actually is cousins with Kanalu. So Kanalu is my cousin as well. We're all Chang Pali Ohana. But we were totally just disconnected from the culture. And my mom, being raised Borinqua, was very passionate about culture. And so she was the one that pushed me and my tita to take hula, to go Kamehameha. And you know what is the thing that we had similar? Me and Hano, we both got kicked out of Kamehameha too. That's what I'm do. That's what I'm do.
My life was so messed up. My mom didn't even try me to take the test. She didn't even take me. She's like, try my brother. My brother never get in. And then she was like, oh, this guy, I don't even think so. This kid, we lucky. He got to wear a helmet the rest of his life.
Me up. And then, even taking Davies class.
Yeah.
21, because I started Manoa in 92. I was a freshman in 92. And I remember admiring all of you guys, because you guys were just a year or two older than me, and just really looking up to you guys. I was in Hawaiian Studies. You guys were and there was that separation, between the two.
Oh, it was huge during our time as undergrads.
Yeah, like the Hawaiian Studies students, we never cruised with the Olelo, but I loved going to the Wapo, to Kanikapila. That's when I felt like we came together, And so it was really neat to kind of watch you and your wahine just do amazing things, So a lot of parallels. And then another parallel was Hano was, mentored by Uncle Keamoku too. So he's very special to us. And it's interesting that he was the one that was like, so what? And the aha moment.
Yes. And then you see all these guys, they all hammers, and then, you look at them and you're just like, and then, we have these sort of admirations of people, right? And, you see Emmett Aluli show up. And, I never know Emmett Aluli for nothing. I just saw him in the videos, right? And then I was like, oh, brother, he's in the Flash. Oh, my God. I was full fanboying a little bit. And I wasn't the only one. There were others.
Oh, I was like that, too. Oh,
And then you go over the years and people like, I don't know, Palikapu guys show up. And you're just like, whoa, how you going to act? And then you realize, okay, these are Kanaka, and they really mean well to us. So they're going to talk to us in a very nice way. It's so different, the personas that they take in close conversation versus what they do in front of everybody.
Oh, true. And you remember the TAs was Kawaiki and Hina at the time.
Oh my gosh, yes. Kawaiki, that would be good fun.
There was the TAs for that class. That was awesome, yeah? Oh, the memory.
I had the kind, Charlie Koopa. As my TA. Charlie, he was in charge of the lo'i for a while, and he passed away. Yeah, Charlie Cooper. He was a mean brother. He had
Right.
stories.
I
He's
know
one
we
of
got
those
some
quiet
great,
ones.
great influences we had, yeah. So I guess that brings us to Nina Elua, and I'm gonna start with Hano Hano on this one. As Kanaka Maoli, we are all at different stages of decolonization. Some, not at all. Some, like us here, have been on a journey for decades. And some are just ready to begin the decolonization process, whatever that looks like, right? For this, Nina, I'm going to ask you to go back 20, 30 years ago when you first went ho'opului ko wawai, got your feet wet, and just started creating and seeking experiences that would foster kanohana Hawaii. So if a mākua that wasn't raised with Hawaiian practices and language came up to you and asked you for advice, like, how do you slowly integrate kanohana Hawaii into a home? What would you say to them? And what was the process like for you and your ohana yourself? I know you shared a little bit of it, but I want you to maybe go a little bit deeper about when it really started rolling out. What did that look like?
First of all, mahalo for giving me love when I was talking about my upbringing. Yeah, I got a master's in the Aina. I got to the title of Almighty, and I'm not settled with that. I'm learning every day, all day. I was raised Paniolo and Hula Halau. I just wanted to put that in. And I was a BD basketball god when I was small, before I got kicked out of commandment school. Okay, back to the subject. The subject, I always would tell people that would visit the fish pond, the local i'a, that there are things that our kūpuna did in the Wakahiko all the way up till the illegal annexation. And there are things that you can do today, like the language, Olelo Hawaii, like Lo'ikalo, like Loko I'a, like sailing. All of these things that our kupuna did, to me, is like all of these rivers that could end up to the sea. Within these veins, in these rivers, all these different things that you are able to go put your hands down in and do that our kupuna did. That's how you start to go back to finding that place, to living the lifestyle. You don't have to be good at everything Hawaiian. For everybody who's starting, you just got to find something. And for us who watch keiki, it would be similar to adults too. If you go to the lo'i and you don't like it dirty, then that's not for you. You know what I mean? If you don't like working at all, you like staying up all night, maybe you gotta go stargazing, but you gotta find something that a kupuna did that you like to do, that your family could participate in. And within that teachings, that Hawaiian river of thought, learning how to act, learning how to treat nature, it's in every one of those veins of those subject matters. So for any family starting off, like if you just look at us, we, I believe, are trying to get good at everything Hawaiian right now. But my go-to would be loko i'a. Within that realm, I know plenty, and I can relate them to life, and I can teach kids, and I can arrange how to instruct so that any learner can see progress in being a better human being. When you come to the local i'a, you work, you play, you learn from us,
Mahalo. I love that. And it really just is an extension of your upbringing. Yeah, was continuing to do these things that you were and around, but the role changing where you became the Kiaʻi malama and take the lead. Yeah.
Yeah, and every family got to find what they love to do of these different Hawaiian things. And like You know, Kaliko said, go all in, go get them. You know,
I think
that river gonna lead to the sea.
I think a really key component for you, from what I know, is that you also had incredible mentors. Yeah. That
Served under many captains, sailed the seven seas.
Right. So it's also like you sought those experiences, you sought those masters, that could give you what you were ono for, what you're hungry for. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you right, babe, because that's how I found KL Moku. That's how I found Nakanelua. That's how you find Francis Sanensi. You know, you find all of these good ones, and you learn from them. But yeah, like, you got to go get them. It's not going to come to anybody. It's not just giving away all this kind of stuff. And if you think it's given away, you're out of your mind. You better go ask real nicely and give, for learn things. So if if a solid Hawaiian offering you a course in learning how to act and only costs a little bit of money, you better pay double. Kahale waka.
stop with the plug. Oh, and that brings me right into what Kaliko was saying earlier about being in these types of experiences with these Kanaka that we're like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm worthy, and then realizing that they are just like us. Like, we all are in the same movement together. And maybe even at one time they were the us that we was 30 years ago, when we was just like, oh, I don't know. I'm just like new at all of this. So that brings me to Kaliko. Kaliko, if you were to give some advice to an ohana or an individual that is ready to make that move, what would you tell them?
That's so tough. That's such a difficult question, because different people are going to have different needs and things like that, and sort of different approaches to getting it, different personalities. I think Hana is touching on that, about how people are different and they learn differently, and they react to different things differently in their own unique way, and I believe that's one of the beauties of of our traditional ways and I call it education system. I would say, about let the doctor of education talk about that more in detail later, I'm sure. Educational philosophies and such. However, for the sake of time, I will try to give a pointer. I would say trust. Hilina'i, paulele, ike o nā kūpuna. Just hilina'i. Because you can call, they gonna come. If we learn anything from mo'olelo kahiko o ka'aina, and the way our kūpuna would frame our history through narratives and genres and motifs and things like that, we know that one thing that we always have available to us are our kūpuna, present and past. So if we just hilina'i, that when we kahea, something gonna happen, and that ties in, I think, to what Hanohano was talking about just a bit ago, about how when an elder wants to share time, share space with you, right? That is the ultimate prize you can get, the ultimate sort of gift you can get from an elder, for somebody that wants to just talk story with you. I remember just sitting down talking story with some kūpuna o Lelo Hawaiʻi, and I never asked, but they just started talking, and I started listening, and then I started learning, and it was very organic. It was very organic in the way that it all happened. But you gotta believe, ask, believe, and then carry out it's so important to commit and just ho'okuli. Ho'okuli is another one I would say. Ho'okuli. Turn a deaf ear to the naysayers.
That's so my
'Cause,
ka'i. That is so
yeah,
my ka'i. You know, and it feels like you're touching on the spirituality of it, you know, and the pilina that we have with our kūpuna, and that they really are always there, na mākua, na kūpuna, and if you call, they will come.
oh
Yeah,
yeah.
and I definitely can agree with you on that one. So mahalo for touching on that. That brings us to kalehua. So kalehua. Maybe you can share a little bit about some advice you would give them, as well as what was the process like for you and your ohana at the beginning, like when you're just starting to become a makua.
Well, I don't, it's some good question, and I think it's an easy one to answer. So hopefully this is short. That it starts off with a sense of loss for me. It starts off with a sense of not being raised in our olelo, and then when you finally get to the place where you serendipitously kind of fall into a olelo class or in front of somebody who knows about olelo, and you hear about the history of our language. Because ultimately in the beginning, spending time with like Liana Wong, um, Mo'eo Warner, those are all the kumu that were just starting at that time, and they had such a fire and so much information about that history that it touched me. And it touched me to a point where I think I was already a person of action. So for all the people out there, it's like if you're not you're probably here because you're a person of action. So I'm speaking to the choir, but it just when you feel the loss, because the loss was mine from a childhood, the loss is my parents, my grandparents. I mean, there's a loss, there's a collective loss of our people, and so you feel this strain, you feel the tension. You start to learn about the actual tangible data that exists to show what happens when you lose a language, what happens when you lose a culture, and the beliefs and the ideology that's attached to the language. And so it was really easy a call that, I was 19, 20 years old, married at 20, first child at 21, and 23 is, when my oldest, and ultimately the commitment was made because you finally understand that a language doesn't live without native speakers. And then you understand that our native speakers were dying and are almost gone now. And just that right there springboarded me into action, right? I'm like, what do I do? Because ultimately there's always this pull to quote unquote, you got to save something, right? You got to save our people, save the earth, save the world. You got to do something. And I think that's the draw that a lot of us have, and which drew me to education. But I think in all of this, if I had advice, because I've been searching for the right words and the right concepts to describe what I was feeling, and I think ultimately where I've landed right now is about the concept of why we learn language. So it's not just about learning language so that these words survive. It's not just about learning language so that the grammatical patterns survive. What has to survive in a language is the worldview by which we live by. And this is really important to understand, that it's a worldview that is attached to a language, that by speaking it over and over and over in critical developmental periods of a child's life, you learn a worldview. And by learning the worldview, number one, you begin to interact with each other, with humanity differently. But our language isn't just about that, and our culture just wasn't about that. Because Kaliko and I were talking earlier today, and it boils down to this concept for me that everything that we do has to be about remembering how to be, remembering how to interact with nature properly, and getting back to that, even though maybe at the level of humanity, that the societal constructs that our language and our culture led us to may not have been perfect, and there are no perfect cultures on a planet. The one thing that was perfect about it is that all of our trees and our plants and our water and our resources and our fish and our animals, everything was thriving with us in our way. And so it was perfectly imperfect. And so I think when you walk through the conversation about language, if you don't have an imperative, especially right now with things like Red Hill and Pohakuloa and Mauna Kea, if you don't feel the imperative to shift our worldview and live in a different way and detach from the lock and key mentality of food and water and capitalism and the results of imperialism and colonialism, if we don't feel that imperative now, we are, ultimately, and this is where I've landed, we're ultimately running out of the proverbial time. That the language is so important to more than just ourselves, that all indigenous peoples have to return to the language by which we embed a new way of being, a new worldview into the minds of our children, to the spirits of our children. Because if we don't, we keep kicking the can down the road and we don't know what the future holds. And you can look at, scientific data that, we are not we don't have 7 generations left, potentially, with our natural resources. So the language is really significant. And I always talk to that why, especially when I get the opportunity to share that why, that the language is not just about saving these words. It's not just about repeating Olelo No'eau. It's about living them.
Mahalo nui. You touched on a point that really, hit me, is when you said the feeling of loss. And I remember when I was a senior in high school, my ho'opili were classmates, Noe Goodyear Ka'upua, Noelani. She wrote an article in Atikala Iloko ka Nupepa, Makekula. And her Atikala was about sovereignty, and it was a word that was completely foreign to me. I had not heard the word sovereignty back in 1990, 1991, until I read her article. And so that was my moment. I was like, what? And so this eha, this anger, like kaumaha, it was just a mixture of all these really heavy feelings. And that is what pushed me to ho'ola myself, to heal myself, and in turn make that pact to myself to ho'ola i ka lahui in whatever way I could. And the first way I did it was with my keiki when I became a mama. So I mahalo for touching on that. And olelo is, I think, the heart of it all. I completely agree with you, because it gives you a different type of ikena. And you can see things differently. You can have pilina different than if you don't olelo. And so with that, I want to add on to this, Nino. If you were to give advice as to, okay, maybe they don't have access they cannot go manoa, they cannot go hilo. Duolingo is not working for them. Like Hano said, he's tried. And I know he's tried, and he has a hard time. What would you say? Any of you guys can answer this, but what would you say to the Kanaka that says, I try, but I get hard time? Arduanya. Who like answer them?
Yeah, the conventional ways. I mean, logically, it would probably be me, but I don't know. Probably you guys get better answers. But the conventional way through the classroom would be, the easiest route. However, there are people who are, trying to make online classrooms and online lessons and things to follow along with. That might lead to the same sort of roadblocks. It would be nice. I don't know how this happens. If we could set up some sort of immersive situation for adults. And when I was doing my graduate work, it was like right around the time when Manoa's linguistics department started to turn and look at language endangerment and then started to ask a question about language revitalization, and it was real foreign to the department I went through. It was a real foreign concept. And here I was coming from Olelo, Hawaii, and I was like, bro, Olelo, Hawaii is dying. What are you guys doing for Olelo, Hawaii? It's right down the road. It's like right around the corner, and not a building in Olelo, Hawaii, and the dying language and the aina that it's dying on. It's where it's from. So, it's Professor Ken Ray. He really got into the whole Hawaiian, not Hawaiian, but language maintenance and language recordation and sort of stuff, like things like that sort of area. And the department has since gone into a lot of endangered language studies and stuff, and those sorts of things and try to do it in a conscious way where they know that they're not of those people and they're going in and trying to do work. But one of the things that we talked about when and Liana Wong and I was in the same class, we was doing the same time, and we was talking, and it comes down to learning the language, comes down to people talking to each other, right? So some people need that more so than they need, an explanation of how ai works in Hawaiian. You know what I mean? So some people just need a million tokens of ai in their ear so that they can catch them. It's like moving 1,000 stones to understand how the stone can stack. So it's just a different way of getting at the issue. So I don't know where we have this, but an immersive setting for a community, perhaps, I think when we get like a town that speaks Hawaiian, I think we're doing real well. And that's where people who will want to learn, and maybe the traditional classroom sort of way doesn't really work for them, I think that's really going to be a good space for those people to come in and just be the subjects of everybody else's Olelo Hawaii. We used to have what is it called? Ho'omoana Olelo Hawaii. We used to hold those with our classes up at UH, and we'd have students go from struggling to, I learn, because we had a lot of fun at our Ho'omoana Olelo Hawaii. I don't know what you guys did in your Olelo Hawaii courses. I seen Keone Chang Purdy up in here. Aloha no kawe, Keone. So we had some fun, but that fun translated into not only lessons in the linguistic structures, etc., of the language, vocabulary, all those sorts of things, but it also led to the desire to learn. And so some people get the desire, they just need one different means. Some people no more the desire, they need the tick. But I think immersion for adults
Absolutely.
would be great.
Absolutely. We actually at Kahalehuaka, we are planning to do something like that over the COVID. Mamolaka'i. And so, you guys are going to get one out of Kono, probably.
Some quality Moloka'i time is... we never say no to that.
Yeah. So that's in the works already. Yeah.
I wanted to add on to what Kaliko said too, because for me as a struggling speaker, me and my wahine was talking about putting more olelo into our hip hop. And like Kalehua, the verses that you write in Olelo Hawaii, like that's how for me I would try and level up in my language.
He gonna do them, Kalehua. He gonna rap in there.
Yes.
By doing them and learning them. And I think and with we always call hip hop the lure that works with our keiki. Like this lure work, they bite, you throw them, they bite. So if they're biting and then they hear them 1,000 times, 1,000 tokens in the ear, you know,
that's the idea.
And then the kuleana lies more on our shoulders for make the pono ono instead of forcing oatmeal down the kid's throat. You know what I mean? Tastes like candy. Just grinding.
Right.
So yeah, so like, you know, for those that watching, like that's in the makings. And for me, again, everything you guys said, I love you guys for, because sometimes us Kanaka just need to be challenged. Like, you need to do more. We need to do more, because your capacity as a human being is so amazing, and we're not living up to that potential. So whatever excuse you get, you know, our side, we try to make them as easy as possible with all the tools available through Kalehuaka, through college classes, through Mele, and the rest is up to that, you know, all of these different individuals who like live in Hawaiʻi for grab, pick up, and, you know, we all can speak at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get people doing reggae, Makololo Hawaii, you know, Mele reggae, like Kaikena Scanlin Ma, Ika Aka, Nahui Wai. You know, my son got on one track with him, and, you know, they're talking about making one small, I don't know what they call it, small album. I don't know what is that, 7-song, whatever. They're talking about making a small album, you know, and, you know, I'm just like, exactly what Hano is saying. That it's oka makauia e loa I keiki. And then, or maybe it's better to put the poi, because it's more nourishing. Yeah. That's probably a better metaphor. But anyway, it's that ono.
You saw how kids act on candy, though. It's like, you know what I mean? Healthy like poi, addictive like candy.
Yeah. Get the sugar out of sugar. Okay, yeah, but the kind.
There you go.
Yeah, kulolo is ono. Okay, nobody gonna deny that. But yeah, you know, and you get these young, the 20-something-year-olds, and then, you know, the uncles like us, I guess, you know, advising on the lyrics a little bit, and then the 20-something-year-olds coming in with what they think is hot at the time, and then, but yet, you know, when you hear these younger, I'm going to use this term, you woke, but, you know, in the sense that they know what Kanaka is and how to be Kanaka. They know when kapu and when noa. They know these things. And then they know mo'olelo, that they can haku iloko o kalako mo mele. And to me, it is just like the hakumele, like the Almeidas and all those kind wonderful hakumele of the mid 1900s that were writing in Olelo Hawaii in a sort of new style, and being very creative with what they were doing, yet weaving in these traditional motifs and understandings of the world, like exactly like what Kalehua was talking about, the worldview thing, and weaving all that in through music. And I think it's critical that we get lyrics that we can rap in Olelo Hawaii so that we can mimic those, because that's huge. Mimicking is huge in learning language. Oh, no, my daughter just did Hanakiaka. She said Hanakiaka is good too.
Yes, super good.
No, but you know, and I was gonna say, and with all of that, one of the things that I think we can kind of again springboard off of is that we've always had this resurgence of Mele, and you know, it's really kind of trying to settle back on where have we come from and where we going with it. And so what these brothers are saying, I think, is really poignant to what we're talking about tonight, and we can kind of take that and shift off into a vein, because I think the exposure that we have to Mele since, you know, the 1920s, we've always had this exposure to Olelo, that the kūpuna held in our mele, and these brothers are just taking this programmatically forward. But one of the things that I was going to say is that when we look at what took place on Mauna Kea, and I always go back to it because this is about, when the rubber meets the road, and the rubber met the road up by Pu'uhuluhulu.
Oh, yes.
That the akua came out. The chants and the dances came out. And all of those things now that we're tying back to this concept of mele, but we're also tethering ourselves back to spirit. And I understand because there's not controversy, but there's conflict in looking at, should those ki'i come out in front of everybody? And I think we are in, for everybody listening, we are in the bridge. We're trying to claw our way back to who we were and who we are, who we should be. And so when those akua came out, and when all of those people knew our chants and knew our dances and did them every day over and over, because you're not gonna revitalize anything just going to the lo'i one day, and everybody knows that. You gotta live in the lo'i, whatever your lo'i is. And I think that when we talk about what took place on Mauna Kea, you take mele and now we kind of apply some spiritual compression back on that thing, and our students and our children and our tutu and everybody starts to learn our mele. Now we have our spiritual backing, bracing us up as we try to, like Hano said, while we try to gather more energy and muster up more strength to do more, because that's one thing. And I just wanted to, that's all I could think about when you guys were talking. I was like, yeah, and you know what? From all of those mele, everybody, Ka'au Creator boys and Maka sons, and because we talk about the old guys, but holding it down, and we finally got back to a closer place of that spiritual reality that we've got to get to, because that's going to change the way we see the world. That's going to change the way we be.
Can I interject? Mahalo e Kalehua for connecting this conversation to Pu'uhuluhulu and religious practice. And I mentioned my turning point was the makahiki at Kaho'olawe and my commitment to that. And that to me, the hugest, the most significant hugest, the hugest, dude.
That box hugest.
Yes, Kapu in Noah. We're in the Noah space. All right. But anyway, one of the greatest moves I think that we've made in the past 45 years, maybe, in our consciousness as Kanaka, has been to engage in the spirit, engage in the practice of recognizing that we come from a spiritually powerful people, and we still have that connection running through us, and therefore we can reignite that connection when we feel that it's the time. And for us, I look at people like George Helm. George Helm, to me, that's Lonoika Makahiki. That is Lonoika Makahiki. Coming back again to reignite the people and restart the practice of makahiki. Because we wouldn't start on Kaho'olawe, and then it was like a month later Molokai did theirs. Because it's the same people, right? It's all the same people. And so when I look at that, it's a re-engagement in this practice. And then you see the Edith Kanaka Ole Foundation and their involvement from the beginning with us on Kaho'olawe, and then you see Antipua guys on the Mauna up at Pu'uhuluhulu, and they say how we get people for stay. Oh yeah, we're gonna chant, we're gonna dance, and we're going to ceremony 3 times a day, and we're going to get people knowing that they Kanaka. And to me, that, I mean, not to me, that to all of us, I'm sure many people in this crowd, we can agree that those moves were significant in our history. And our history up to 2 years ago and still going on today. I mean, we look, just the other day had something, right? And then the kind, and they go do all the chants from the Mauna, right? You know, I was like, of course, why not? That's what we know. That's our, that is part of our palette, I guess, of what we can paint with. And so, and then now to tie this into fluency and literacy as well, when we become fluent and literate in what we know and in our history and our understandings, and kind of like what I was talking about, the younger hakumele and the younger artists coming up now, you know, who don't have the colonial baggage or the colonized baggage that we carry, you know, whatever that we've been dealing with our adult lives, who just been raised in this Hawaiian light. They come at it with this mindset that, oh, I'm gonna rap about, you know, I'm gonna rap about the kind he'eia. I'm gonna rap about Maile. I'm gonna rap about how the sun looks in my town, and I'm gonna rap about how the water glistens in my river, you know, and that's what's gonna make me on. And I hope that people are inspired by this music to write about their own places, and then we can get together and communicate about our own indigenous ways of understanding our environment today. It's so important to not forget it's for today. Pu'uhuluhulu was for today. All of our practices, makahiki, kaho'olawe, makahiki, the ka'apuni and moloka'i, that's for today. That's for today. Oh yeah, okay, mahalo.
Mahalo nui. Oh, Kaleho, try unmute.
Yeah, no, and just real quick, because I think this, you know, coming back to, because, you know, I'm blessed to have a wonderful relationship with my 3 children, and they're on the, you know, they're all listening to this right now. But I think the reflection of this question is one that I always try to push out, is that I think that, and Hano, you kind of mentioned it before, that this idea that this isn't always available, that, you know, that these kūpuna aren't available, or this knowledge isn't free, or whatever. And I'm gonna say, you know, with all my aloha, is that part of what has to happen is that when you do actually have this knowledge, you have got to give it away, and give it away broadly. Like, you got to give it away big time. And I can share with you folks, as I share with people in my own community, that part of my own personal journey, walking through a path to advocate for language, and now moving back into my community to you know, claw and crawl back to along with my community members, back to a place and give them what I've learned and give them what I know, and actually go to them and not wait for them to show up in you know, in my front door, is something that I actually tell my children, is that, you know, because you have a gift of language and you have experience, that's not the entirety of your life. That's not the entirety of your work. Once you get through all of this journey that childhood prepares you for, now you have to go back to your people, and you have to give it away. No longer are the days where you wait for someone to just show up at your doorway. We don't, I you know, I don't want to doom and gloom anything, but I usually do. But we don't have time anymore to wait, because there is, you know, and again, that's in this household. It's that we have to extend our hand. We have to share what we have, because if we don't, things, the road that we are on will not change, and we will hit a wall, or we will fall off a cliff. Something's gonna happen. We can't keep doing this anymore, and Hawaiians have to lead the way.
Yeah. I saw an interesting comment in the chat, and Nohea said, she lost her community when she left Kulanui, and I experienced that as well. I had to go back to Lahaina, and then it was like work at the luau, work punana leo na day, dance at the luau in the night. But I still had no community to go home to. And I also was married to my first husband at the time who didn't have the same passions as me. And so that was a huge part. It's when you lose your community, you create a new one. You create one that shares the same passions as you and has the same path as you. I heard a lot of commonalities between all your comments, and that was community, commitment, immersion, spirituality, and the continuance through sharing and giving. And I think those are just, you guys hit it. You guys hit it right on the nail. I also wanted to reflect on, I keep saying that I think it's Kihei Nahalea that said this. I'm not sure if he got it from someone else, but it really stuck with me. And he said once that one generation's knowledge becomes the next generation's wisdom, and then in turn becomes the next generation's being. So just in our lifetime, we've seen this happen. And it's incredible to witness, right? And how you're seeing this new generation, the Opio now are like, they're like in a whole different place, and it's only going to get stronger and it's only going to get better. So as a person who feels like maybe you lost your community, start to create your own community. Start to just be because you can, and don't feel like you need to wait for an opportunity or someone that you need to connect with or somebody that needs to mentor you because you already have that mauli, you already have that fire in you, and let that drive you. So mahalo nui, guys. I have one more ni now. You guys makau? Yeah? Okay. So the last ni now is, what are some adversities faced while raising your keiki, because we're all mākua, with ka Nohona Hawaiʻi and ʻōlelo Hawaiʻi in a Western construct of education, because even though we sent our kids to Kaiapuni, it's still in a Western system. And what are the triumphs that you witness what are some adversities, and then what are some triumphs as well that you witness in your ohana because of this lifestyle that you guys live? So let's start with Kaliko.
Oh.
Again, Kaliko.
Oh.
Read them again.
Yeah, can, whatever. I mean, whatever. Bro, I'll send it. I don't know what I'm gonna send. Okay. No. So some adversity, trials, tribulations of I tend to focus on positives, and it's kind of a weak spot for me, I think. But I can definitely find some negatives here and there. I remember not sharing my son or my daughter so much with the family, and we knew, Haile and I, we made a commitment when we were younger that we would raise our kids in Olelo, Hawaii. And we committed. Hohiki maua, paulele. And we knew that input was critical for a young child, and we wanted good input, and what we ended up doing was au'a ia o kaipu. Kaiu, she got to spend more time with her grandparents, because we was doing Kamapua'a at the time at the show, and that life kind of took over, and aloha no. It's good though. I mean, good that she got to spend time with grandma, guys. But anyway, her Haile's mom, guys, but Kaipu was hardcore Aua. Like, he would only go with Hawaiian language speakers. And it came to the point when, and I'm sure, Kalehua is going to have the same story and other people that Aua, Like, Me, Maua, the English was like sound like the kind Samoan Tongans or that. When they spoke English. Oh, cuss, you gonna come over and play trucks with me today, cuss? That's how he used to talk to his cousin. And I'd be like, whoa, whoa. And then you second guess yourself and you say, oh, no, that's perfectly natural. But anyway, but what that was is, like my family never really got to know Kaipu as a kid, and Kaipu doesn't really get to know them and doesn't hang around the families so much. His family is the Hawaiian community and those people who are like-minded. So it's almost, to me, I would say that's kind of one, I don't know how to negotiate that. If I had to do it all over again, I would do it all over again. And in fact, I would go even harder. Yeah. So that's why, the kids now, they're talking about having kids. And I said, aole e ho'ohoka ia na keiki. E noho na keiki me maua. Aole ho'ohoka ia.
Gonna be different.
Yeah. Gonna be different. I mean, but we can give them that strong olelo, whatever, all that foundation that they need, on that side. I mean, we're not gonna be tossing stones in the local ia like you guys, or chasing deers and poking squids and whatever la ea. But we can move through this modernity of Oahu we can Kanakify this modernity that we live in. And you had a question earlier about colonization and decolonization.
Yeah.
I just think the goal of speaking Hawaiian to our kids is to indigenize, Kanakify our kids, so that our kids can ho'okanaka in their own way. Yeah, okay. Long story. I don't know if I really even answered the question. I think I got one.
Oh, that was my ka'iloa.
Okay.
You're very, very, you're very open for sharing that. So mahalo.
Yeah, mahalo.
Let's go on to Kalehua. How about you, Kalehua? Has there been any adversities, in the Western construct, raising keiki o lelo Hawaiʻi, and share some of the triumphs as well that you've.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty transparent about this because we walked through as a family. At the time, Noel Warner, I spent a lot of time talking this through with him. And our oldest, actually, for the first 3-4 months, he'd go to different babysitters, and none of them spoke Hawaiian. Until we made the conscious choice for Mama to stay home. So Mama stayed home. What we did is that we homeschooled our children until they were 8 years old. Part of that was, my educational background as well as looking at the critical period of development and zone of proximal development that you develop and you acquire between 99% of your orthographic information, and basically your worldview and constructs are the core of it is solidified early on in life. So what we did is that we just sheltered them. And so that's the aua. But I had to learn. Luckily in the process that we had the opportunity to be able to homeschool them and get them to that point. and it's really, really hard work because now the other member has to work planning to be able to hold the family afloat financially. In that time frame, I learned hard lessons and contemplated hard things, and one of them was that how can I in the hour, because our oldest was probably like 5, 6 years old and never went with anybody. I mean, I don't even remember her being able to say stuff in English at 5 or 6 years old. I can't recall it just because there was never a context by which she would have to speak. Then I learned, because there was so much tension with the grandparents as well, and I just, it kind of broke me one day where I had to realize, is like, what kind of a Hawaiian am I building? Am I building one that isn't connected with the grandparents? So Kalipo, I mean, going harder to me actually means putting in more time with the kids. It doesn't mean outlaw to me. That I actually think, even in family homes with one speaker of Hawaiian, one on you guys, just never ever speak English to them. The one that knows Hawaiian, commit, and gonna happen. I'm telling you that the brain works a lot differently than we give it credit, and it has the capacity to acquire languages strongly. The issue going to be, and I know this is getting a little lengthy, but you cannot listen to anybody critique educationally where your children are at, because you have monolingual people critiquing bilingual development. That's like asking the plumber to tell a fisherman how to catch fish. They don't know what the hell is going on. They cannot recognize what is going on. You cannot listen to them. You have to go get resources that are at least bilingual or walk through this pathway, because once they get into the educational system, you have state standards that are developed by monolinguals for monolingual native speakers, and that's a developmental model that is not bilingual. So all of our children that went to Kaipuni, and I see some of my students out there, aloha, yeah, that you walk through these processes and you get criticized and critiqued and you get hammered by the normal the mainstream ideas of education, and they are all flawed. You have to reimagine a new future. The future is not based off of monolingualism, and your child's life depends on it. Like, this is serious kind of stuff, because you cannot let that into your ear. The students hurt. I mean, I talked to plenty of students, and the students know about it. The students hate themselves. Parents pull them out of Kaipuni because they say, oh, the kids are lacking. They're not. They're bilingual, and they're developing as a bilingual, not as a monolingual. And you're gauging them on a monolingual development, but they are. I'm sorry, I'm trying to make sure I hit this point, because all the parents out there, make sure nobody in a mainstream school, no monolingual, knows what the hell they're looking at. Please understand that they are not looking at anything they've ever seen before, so they do not, sorry, love of everyone, they don't get power in the decision-making hierarchy. You do. And that's the main concern, because when our kids grow up, I'm going to tell you, and don't spread it, I went to Punahou and Kamehameha, and my kids are kicking my butt, bro, in college right now. Their GPAs are killing mine. So don't believe what everybody is telling you. Bilingualism expands your brain, and you just go Google it. It's a gray matter and synapses. It's there. The bilingual education is there. And sorry, I just running this, but that has to be there. And the last thing is that just make sure, for all our ohana out there, with whatever it is that you guys decide for your ohana, whatever activities you guys do, belief structures you guys make sure that everybody is on board and everybody is strongly a believer. Because I know in my family, our family went through some just differences between us because there were just some beliefs that weren't collectively felt and held in that way. And so really spend a lot of time, mom and dads out there, really spend a lot of time with the kūpuna, with everybody, get everybody on board, and really hold tightly to each other. Because there are some spaces culturally and spaces linguistically you can go where you leave people behind, and that creates problems. So really pay attention to that. But that's a triumph too, because we gotta learn.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you, my mom, them, and the kids' mom's parents in the beginning was all scared, and now they sit back, and they tell everybody, "Oh yeah, no, yeah, our grandkids speak Hawaiian. That's wonderful. That's the best way. That's the only way to raise a family."
Yeah. Mine too.
That's the only. Yeah, they're so proud. And I was like, do you remember what you said? You said, tell me, what the hell are you doing, boy? And I'm going to tell you that now in retrospect, and luckily, all of you folks have families like us to look at and critique and learn from. I never had that. I had to just go, okay, gang, we're jumping off the cliff. We go and run the social experiment. But I'm going to tell you the social experiment.
Going in kind of blind, But I think you guys hit on something that is crucial, is that making this agreement, agreement, and having a partner, someone who supports and who is all in, and knowing that the school system is not going to give them everything you need them to have, that you need to provide that for them. And Hano, I want you to add to that, because it's kind of funny, because we sheltered our keiki too, So we all have that in common. So Hano, can you share a little bit?
Like third motion of the kind of sheltering our kids in the beginning. By choice. Everything you guys said, all of our support, love, and we found ourselves in a very similar place, and we decided to invest more of ourselves. The job, one hold them down, the other one stay home, but always somebody stay home. Even now, when we could be out of the house, we always in the house. We always on the aina, But what I put down here was some of the adversities I think all of you families going to face is finding the strength, the courage, the confidence, and the grit for walk this lonely path. Like, this is not one fad. This is not like, TikTok kind of stuff. This has been for a long time, if you ask all of us, a very lonely path. And we trying to go home. And the only way we can go home is all together. So for me, when I love one child, one family from here, or especially that is not from Molokai, and I have an opportunity to give that keiki the chance to go experience Mauka, Makai, go on the aina, into the aina, take a risk, while we right there. Forgive them the confidence they need for go out into this world that going to be a bunch of naysayers, going to be a bunch of doubters, going to be a bunch of people that looking at us and our kids and saying, you probably don't have what it takes. But everything that our kids are doing right now, because of what we've put into them, is showing the exact opposite of what I just said. They have us. They ready. These eagles ready for flying. You know where they're going to fly? They'll fly around and they're going to rest right back home. Yeah? And hopefully make this place a better place. But I think through our music, my interactions, my coaching, my teaching with kids, it's almost like Jedi training, yeah. You know, and the local I'a and Molokai has always been good training grounds for grab these young Kanaka, these keiki that either born here, choose to live here, that like be Hawaiian, when chance for, you know, take that feeling and run with them and not be scared. And every time you fall down, get back up. So I know that all of our kids in Hawaii, if not around the planet, face peer pressure. They face, you know, like having to live up to the Joneses, to keep up with the Joneses and stuff like that. So I believe everything that we do to our keiki, the way we teach, the way we treat them, like being the coolest human beings as possible. Like these are the brothers that sitting on the panel with me. Be the example, be the guides for the next generation, and just give them grit, confidence, give them love and support that they can make mistakes and learn from them, pick themselves up and go again. So yeah. I see that as something that, you know, everybody face, and I think that's what we got to give our kids, especially taking them back to the language, taking them back to the culture, because not going to be easy. No. Not a single inch of going back home going to be easy.
Yeah, and I can say that from watching all of your ohana grow and our keiki grow, what we have given and created for them, and that's what we're talking about tonight, hasn't been easy. It's been a lifetime commitment and a lot of you know, action, you know, but it's so worth it, because like Kalehua said, my kids are like, they blow me out the door with their ike. Same with us. You know, we have our daughter who is at Princeton, our son who is at Pomona. It's like, and they are bilingual. They were raised Nohona, Hawaiʻi. So we come from brilliance. And we also have to remind ourselves that we are the tip of the spear. We're the best of the best. We're the survivors. We owe that to our kūpuna. We owe that to our kūpuna, and to constantly remind ourselves, to reground ourselves and say, it's more than just this right here. It's for the whole ahui of the generations to come. So with that, I wanted to kind of open it up if anybody have ni now. Does anybody have ni now? I'm gonna ask. You can put in the chat. And I'll ask. Okay. So Malia said, what is your folks mana'o about sharing ike with po'ehaole? Whether we should focus on our kanaka keiki? Good question. Who would like to take that?
Yeah, I can take them. Probably not. I'm not going to give the answer that not the other two guys going to say.
Oh, come on.
Maybe, okay. but I'm going to say that the ways of our ancestors are good enough to guide the world. And this isn't anymore what the struggles that we face are not struggles of skin color, and they're not struggles of genealogy. These are struggles of worldview and lifestyles. This is about changing the way we all live. This is no longer about blood. It's not about where you come from. It's about how you live. And anybody who can live here and care about the i'iwi and the kueo and the ama and the opai, if you care about them, and you're willing to act upon, change their behaviors, to do anything and everything you can to help them live. And, you know, outside of the ike kapu of many of our ceremonies, the way we are and our ike should be worldwide.
If you're on mute, but I would second that motion completely. I believe I got caught on camera for the Planet for Sea with Anthony Bourdain when I explained that mana'o, that ike right there. and I believe it with all of my heart. And you know, every time I think about this question, I think about my uncle Bruce. You go, who? Bruce Naehu? No, Bruce Lee. Uncle Bruce Lee. He was under the same situation, if we're talking about him, whether or not for share his type of martial arts. And like Kalehua said, the thing was good enough for help the planet. And my wife keep telling me, because I am learning how to be not too much Hawaiian centric, very Hawaiian centric, you know, but we human beings, and our kūpuna was one of, if not the optimal human being, stating that if I save the planet, and I believe our culture teachings can help, we need to spread this like wildfire.
Yeah.
We need to spread them like wildfire. Allah gonna save, you know, because we save the planet, saving the people is guaranteed. How we gonna save the planet? We'll be more Hawaiian.
Yeah, I think kako opia kokua. I say, well, our knowledge, and I think mahalo for bringing this point up. This is the kind Poi Poi Joseph Mokuhai Poi Poi wrote in 1906. He wrote this wonderful. He had this wonderful publication in Kana'i Aupuni called Kamo'olelo Hawaiʻi Kahiko, and it ran for a while. It's long. It's really in depth. But he starts it off by saying, our mo'olelo is as good or better than those of the Hellene Greeks, I guess, yeah. And then he goes and he cites this guy Cicero, who was a popular philosopher from a long time ago. So he knew those mo'olelo of Hellene, and he knew our stories, and he was like, oh, bro, we get that when we better. So why were we even questioning ourselves? We don't need questions ourselves. And he wrote that in 1906, as I said, and that's, 10 years after the rules, the regulations were set into the educational system where you couldn't speak Hawaiian. And then you get, of course, we have all these horrible stories of corporal and psychological punishment for kids speaking Hawaiian and such. But anyway, yeah, so our knowledge is critical for not only us. It goes far beyond our shores. Kapu Aloha, if I understand its genealogy correct, it was Mua Ha'i Kūpuna Hakiwawa Parli Kanakaole. When the dignitaries was coming in, he said, everybody's all right, everybody's all nuts. You know, it's 1993, all these people coming in, they're like bomb cola, we can come in. Just coming in and sit with the Kanakas. And Uncle Parley was like, kapu aloha. Everybody show aloha. You show them aloha. That's how we're going to win. And that concept, we carried it in Nohona, it made its way up to the kind to Pu'uhuluhulu, and it was huge in Pu'uhuluhulu. Kapu aloha is an attribute of the way we engage. Whether or not it's traditional in the sense of, chanting and dancing and all those sorts of things and those sorts of things, but I don't know. But it's a concept that we've had. It's a way we engage. So yeah.
Mahalo. I noticed Nohea, you have your hand raised. Nohea is the mama. I don't know if you guys have seen the video of the beautiful little kala'i in Papamala'o, sharing how she was being punished for Olelo Hawaiʻi in her classroom. So Nohea is her mama. I had a nice talk story with her yesterday. Nohea, did you want to share someone now? Do you have a ni now? You can unmute.
Yeah, I mean, oh my gosh, you made me cry. I mean, as soon as I've invested so many years from my keiki to learn Olelo Hawaiʻi, I struggle, and I can relate with Hano and Maile so much. And so, like I mentioned, being lost without a community, so much goes through your mind. how am I gonna get her to love the Olelo Hawaii again? How am I gonna do right with my kuleana to perpetuate the language for our kūpuna? And then how can we address the problems in Kaiopuni? Like, originally this had happened because she's been punana leo for 2 years, and it happened because there wasn't enough room in the school. And so we took her to the closest school near us, and I found out she got punished. And so for me as a mākua, and I want to make sure we can make a difference. It's like, what can I do? What can we do to make the change? And what can families do when they're not able to get their keiki into Kula Kaiapuni? And I know it's a big question, but everything is stuck in my mind. And like I said, I don't want nobody to talk about it. Right? And I feel like this is a perfect time. And
especially during COVID, yeah, we feel like we just solo action. But I think a lot of the things that everyone shared tonight are examples of how you can do it. But does anybody want to add anything specific to her situation and how maybe we could ho'opono?
Tita, I would say part of the reason why we talking story right now is because of my wife's kahaleho aka. What the love, the learning that she put into them, and what is available for you guys is pretty much the essence of what got our kids from a little island of Molokai out in the bushes next to the river in the lo'i, hunting for deer using solar lighting. But she put all of that, and I call my son the blueprint. Yeah, because what he had in school, whatever they never give, mommy and daddy was giving them as best as we could, as much as we could, invested all the way, knowing that the school would come up short. So right now, in these challenging and very, very crazy times, that's why Kahale Waka was birthed. So through that tragedy, we've seen an opportunity for share some of our friends, some of the stuff that we've put into our kids. And like how Kalihua said earlier, it's an obligation for us for share. You cannot make them to that spot you wanted to make them to, and then just give up on everybody else. So this, and I applaud my wahine and her business partner Kalani for creating this for people and ohanas like yourself, for us and my brotherhood, for be able to come and share our experiences with all of you that are a little worried, nervous, maybe scared. That's what we felt when we was in the same position too.
Yeah, and when I was a fresh graduate from Manoa, nalo vale ko uike, because I wasn't practicing. It just went poof. If you're not going to practice it, if you're not going to ho'oma'a, it's just going to disappear. And so when it was time to put my son into Punana Leo, it was 5 years after I graduated, I was like, oh my gosh. And I remember the kumu when Olelo Hawaii with me, and I was like, oh. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I went back to that when I had to translate in my head before the thing puka from my mouth. And that was a reality check for me. It was like, whoa, my keiki are all about to begin Punana Leo, and I can't even Olelo Hawaii make my ka'i. So that pushed me to this super uncomfortable place, and I made myself Yakubu Kokua at Punana Leo. And that is how I immersed myself. Yeah, so you have the tools, you've been given the tools. You went to Kula, you know the Olelo, you just haven't been practicing. right? So it's about putting yourself into these uncomfortable places, pushing yourself, because your journey's not pau yet. Like, your journey's just begun, and this is pushing you into a place where you have to say, I need to reevaluate who's going to be my kaiaulu now. Yeah, and what strengths do I have within myself to offer what I can to my keiki? And who else can I ask to be on my va'a to help me raise my keiki? Who can teach them the things that I cannot? Because they're there. And it's about getting the confidence and knowing that mai hila hila. Mai hila hila. We have so much hila hila in us, and it's just whipped into us from our kūpuna time. Yeah. So I wanna give you blessings and let you know that you have what it takes. You have what it takes. Take it day by day. Take it step by step, and you're always gonna face adversities, discrimination. My son went through the same thing, and look at him now. Right? So these things gonna only make you guys stronger. Our kūpuna, our lahui has a history, just even up to now, mana kea. Like, you gonna push us to that precipice, guess what? We're gonna come up even better than before. So I just wanted to leave those words with you, because I had a nice talk with you yesterday, and I know you can do this, Tita. I know you can do this.
No, and I just wanted to add it because, that whenever things like this happen, because the more and more you engage in advocacy for culture or language, the more and more you're going to encounter people who don't understand. Don't allow that to consume your thoughts, because the culture that they come from does not understand what do they saying. So we have to get to a place in ourselves where we either can find some huikala and get them out of ourselves, because we got to focus on it. And anything that detracts us from that is time taken from
him. Jillian, I have one more now we're gonna take before we have our panina. But I have Jillian Lewis that has their Wahapai Kalima. Do you have a ninao?
Yes, I do. Mahalo. Mahalo ya oko, apo. We have ninao about language bonds, and language bonds that, you guys made in English, right, to your hoas, right? You make a language bond in Olelo Hawaii to your keiki. Maybe you make a language bond to Olelo Hawaii with your wahine. Maybe you make it in the home, right? You couple it into the home, or when Kiki's not around, right? You say, okay, we're going to Hawaii vale no in front of the Kiki, but to hoas, right? That maybe you went to university with, and your first bond was in English. And we know that when our language of love, our language of bond, whatever it is, it's hard to break. And what solutions have you guys come up with, possibly, and I don't know, when you guys get together, if your language of choice is English, or have you, solidified a bond to Olelo Hawaii so that, we're showing on a mākua level, right? Not just a keiki to a mākua level, or, when we say, okay, oma Olelo Hawaii vale no, like iwaino o na keiki. But, we struggle, right? We fell in love in English. He's a Maori speaker. I can speak Olelo, but we fell in love in English. And so that bond, and then for people who are, I started speaking English, and I went to, I know Olelo, but how do I create a new bond? And just wanting to know maybe solutions that you have for anybody listening, or, to our hoas that, okay, I know we can Olelo Hawaii, why do we sit down and continue to, right? Or every time we try, or anybody who wants to create a new bond, people find that to be a barrier, and perhaps you have a few solutions that you could share of how to start that conversation first, and how to commit to that bond, that new bond. So mahalo.
Wait, I think I should.
Oh yeah, Hano.
I think I should go first, because I think I represent the 78 4% of us that no can speak Olelo Hawaiʻi. And I believe we are the reason why our ohana no use the language more. And I know ever since my wife created this kahale ho'aka, I knew that my life was now going to be under one spotlight, right? And because if my family can olelo Hawaii, and I've been living this Nohona Hawaii lifestyle, I myself gotta try harder. I myself, because it's always up to the last person on the team, gotta catch up with the others. And if the farther you stay behind, the more everybody gonna have to wait up for you. So I know that these conversations and these workshops and everything that my family going through right now is making me understand the criticalness of the situation, like Kaliho was saying earlier. And so I think for a lot of us, we need to try harder, just like what my two brothers said. And for me personally, like, you know, I'm gonna learn my language. You know, I'm gonna learn them. It's necessary, past necessary now. My kids deserve it. I would love to start thinking in the way our kūpuna used to, and not just saying, "Oh, pidgin is comfortable enough for me." You know, so yeah, I think for those of you just like me holding up the team, we need to try harder, catch up, do whatever it takes to, you know, create that bond so that everybody can feel comfortable, if not feel uncomfortable, and just go for it, you know.
Any of you guys other kane want to add to that?
I'm going to just go quick because I know Kaniko, you get.
I'll let you guys both add to it, and then we can panina.
Yeah. I'm going to say I don't think, and I said it before, I don't think the only way for your children to pick up Hawaiian language fluently is to have two really strong speakers in the house. And that's one thing. I think for the individual that speaks Hawaiian, I don't know what type of person you folks are or whatever, but you gotta commit. And commit means commit. You can talk to anybody else in English, but once you turn to that child, they only get that Olo Hawaii. Like this is an uphill climb for our children. Just remember that. But I also share, this is a triumph, is that with the kids' mākua hine, that when we met, we met like you guys. And she never even go university. She learned Olelo in the home because I just told her, it's like, hey, I'm not gonna, you know, I'm not gonna speak English anymore in the house. Was that okay? You know, and it was just that by doing that and sitting with her and walking her through lessons. I mean, the kids have videos because they don't remember her like that. They were so young when she was learning. And again, she never go UH, she never go college. That by the time that they can, that enough consciousness was there to recall, they cannot recall her speaking English to them. Even though now, like they have like when they're little babies in the videos and she's talking English to them when they're baby. They're like, Mom, what the? You know, hello, hana yo. Look at how I know how in English. And she's like, Kalamai. You know. But and then there's this, you know, catharsis and mihi, but you don't have to mihi. That what we're doing is that we're committing. The people who have the knowledge commit and be firm. Like you can't break. And the other person commit as well. Commit to being an example of learning for your children. because there are multiple examples that are running parallel to. We're only talking about the language context and the environment we build in Hawaiian language. That's not the only thing that we're mirroring for them, or we're not only teaching them that. We're teaching the journey. And if mom or dad speaks Hawaiian and the kids speak Hawaiian, and mom or dad, whoever doesn't, is learning in the context, that actually shows the kids, gives them power, it empowers them to help papa or help mama along the way. And it empowers the olelo. Thank you. Oivaleno.
Felico, I'll let you close this with your.
Wow. What you know, I love speaking after Kalehua and Hano. I love that. I love that because, you know, all I can just say is yeah. Nah.
Yeah.
Okay. So but yeah. I think that the original question was somewhere around the line, somewhere around the lines of how do you get over these pilina that develop and can be Olelo Hawaii pilina going forward. That's a tough one, you know, because I mean, like, for real. I mean, you bring it up and it's like it's real. It is real. Because you might see somebody in, you know, college time and they don't speak Hawaiian, and you come back 20 years later they can speak Hawaiian, and you be like, oh, you speak Hawaiian now? Okay, good. You should get the gap. Just like new, and you just make like new and you go forward. But if you know somebody and they're working on their Olelo Hawaii, and then you work and you have something to do with them, right? And you have to get things done, and Olelo is really hampering the getting the done part, and so you're just like and especially rearing keikis or whatever, you know, raising keikis and those sorts of things. It's like, oh my god, but can. And like Kalehua said, like, his situation is a little bit different than our situation. Haile and I, we were learning together, you know, and I was just being hothead with her, you know. I was like, no, kupa'a kako, kupa'a ka'ua, Olelo Hawaii ka'ua, because, you know, her family Catholic, so we had to go marriage encounters before we got married, right? Which was good, you know, actually from a therapeutic sort of standpoint, it's really good. So we had to go write down all kinds of stuff, whatever, you know, write notes to each other. So I only wrote to her in Hawaiian, and I said, "This is us." And we made our decision right then. We got married, and that was us. We was gonna be married, and we was gonna speak Hawaiian. Kalehua's the kind wahine before kihapai, I will never have a conversation with her in English. And the only time I talk around Kalehua in English is situations like this. So like these situations are really well defined. Or our relationship, our pilina, ka ma'aua pilina, ma'o Kalehua, mako lelo Hawaii kela. Ka mako me na keiki, mako lelo Hawaii kela. Kapu ka pilina. We have they I think, you know, one thing Kalehua and I were talking earlier, right, that we was we had a little conversation earlier, and you know, we talked about kapu and noa. Like, our kids, they know when the kapu starts. The poo blows, it's on. You put the malo on, it's on. You take the malo off, it's off. You know, it's noa. They know the difference between kapu and noa. They know the difference in relationships. And Kalehua is really pounding in this idea this whole time. If there is a speaker who is a parent and a caregiver, that speaker needs to just go for it. And I promise the kid gonna know. The kid gonna say, oh, mommy speaks Hawaiian, daddy don't speak Hawaiian, I'm gonna speak Hawaiian to mommy, and we just gonna have this little awkward thing where we gotta translate all the time. Whatever. That's us. We're unique. We're awesome. Maika iloa. We're gonna move on. It'll be all right. But there's also, I think, a point that we didn't talk about, and maybe we'll plant a seed for another conversation when you had it with somebody else, perhaps on these panels or something like that. But it's also this understanding that Noa is the norm, and that we have to have fun with our kids too. And we have to enjoy them and not sort of always have the kapu of Olelo Hawaii on them, even though it's there in our communicative practice or whatever. It's just, but we have to enjoy life with them. We see the Keala Kinabos over there enjoying our conversation, but they're sitting down and they're tripping out because they're hearing so much Olelo Pelikania from the Anakalas, and it's one of those things, aloha no, aloha ina keiki mahine, kala mai ko maaua namu haole ana, nui loa ko maaua namu haole, aloha ino olua, aloha ino. But yeah, so and then we go over to their house, whatever. We only speak Hawaiian because kapu. Mm-hmm. That's our kapu. Yeah, that's our kapu, and we take that kapu seriously. Yeah, but then we got to figure out how to negotiate the noa into that so that we can enjoy life, yet move through life in a way that the kids don't get burnt out.
Yeah, and she used the word bond. Some of you use the word ho'ohiki. But it's making sure everyone is on the same page. Whoever is gonna malama your keiki, whoever's involved, that who's on your va'a, that we all on the same page. For me, Olelo Hawaii vau, and Hano doesn't Olelo Hawaii. I've been a very active kumu in all of my keikis' lives. So that's when we Olelo Hawaii makahale, Olelo Hawaii lako mea'u. And we there are times that we have to unuhi for dad, otherwise he's just got kanima'a, that's mom's connection to the keiki. We're always trying to take opportunities to teach, Hano, and he's very receptive to it. But I think that's what it's all about, finding your community, making the commitment. Ho'ohiki. I like that word bond.
And we're on the bridge, we transitioning, yes. Mm-hmm. You always gotta forgive yourselves and never really let it eat away at you. You're a result of something that happened that was dastardly, and we're in transition. Remember that. Mm-hmm. All of that pain and all of the sometimes the disagreements and the struggle, it's a result because of who we are, who we've come to be now. But we gotta just forgive ourselves. Remember the transition. And I saw this. Sorry, just real quick. This question. Just make sure you get. I can tell you the kids will learn Olelo. There's plenty examples. Even if no more two speakers in the house, even if you can let them learn, from two to them. I'm gonna tell you that the hardest thing is that you cannot raise a proper Hawaiian child separate from kūpuna. That's almost the antithesis of Hawaiianness. So we've got to find this blend, and I believe that the blend is somebody got to commit all the time, at least one person all the time, if not two, because once that happens, you let them go to the kūpuna. Them they're not gonna break. It's not gonna hurt them. The brain can do way more than we think.
Yeah. Was that Nani's Nino that you're addressing, Kalehua? Oh my ka'i. Okay. Oh, you guys, mahalo nui. I'm gonna bring this to close. Real quick, if you guys in a minute could share things that ko hanana ikeia manawa. What is up? Ikeia makahiki nei. What are you guys up to? I heard you're gonna publish a puke, Kaliko, or something like that, or
we got a puke coming out. We have that for sure. On Mo'olelo, the Foundation of Hawaiian Knowledge, Kalehua is an author. Others are authors in there. Yeah, there's a lot of us in there. It's kind of maikai under Hawaii Nui Akea. It's exciting. We're going over Kaho'olawe next week for Makahiki, send Lono off in the Va'a, off Kiaʻi Kahiki, and we're excited about that. And I don't know, linguistically speaking, we've kind of, actually, Kalehua is the one that sort of inspired this word for me. But it's ho'onu'unu'u. We've incorporated that into our ceremonies, which is kind of boastfully talking, chanting about our offerings. So it's sort of upping the linguistic wage, I guess, or upping the linguistic value within the ceremony for everybody. It's not just o o mea no mea maiau and ea ka ho'okupu mea. It's not that simple sort of ho'okupu presentation that everybody used to like drop loads over just preparing for it. Now we're talking, Hokas, you better have some lines. You better have 10 lines, 20 lines about this whole kupu and why Lono should come down and shed some rain on Koho'olawe. Otherwise, because we're taking that next step, right? So whole new, it's kind of exciting. It's just like 4 or 5 years we've been doing it. It's pretty exciting. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe Kalehua.
Okay, it was my turn.
I think Molokai is frozen up in here. Okay, my guy.
Probably did something. I honestly, so my initial introduction, yes, I'm a principal at a charter school. And part of the challenge, we get one of our teachers, one of our recent teachers on here, that kind of understands a little bit more of the process of trying to now reach back into a community and build more knowledge into the community, build more language programs into our community. So yeah, that's what we're doing. And it'll take a little while, but yeah, Kawai Hono Kana'awao is under construction, and we're trying to rebuild something that is more reminiscent to flowing cultural language included students. And really, honestly, just for you guys, so you know, it really play around with these terminal edges of what we call non-fluent and fluent. And there's all this progression in here, and that's a really wide progression. So utilizing the educational context to help carefully progress language learners, the children and our staff, through a loving process that actually gets them from not fluent to fluent, whatever that may be. And I think our educational systems don't allow us to do that right now. It's either Kayapuni or English, and it's really, black and white. But I think there's a lot of gray in the realm of language transition. And so we're going to be doing a lot of work in that realm.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting and inspirational, I think, in that sort of approach of bridging those gaps. Yeah, like Iloa. Well, go Kalehua, you got something else?
Now papani.
Mahalo nui, yeah, now I wehe na uno pahai pani. Well, nalila e kapoe nani ako kua mai, malo ko ho'omana nui ana I kia mo hu'olelo a mako I ho'olelik nei I luna o ke ia zui a kako e noho nei. Mahalo, I kapoe nana I ho'olala, ya maile, a me ka hale hoaka, ka hui, ka hale e noho ai ke ia papahana a kako e hana nei. Me ke kahi hoa hai o lelo o mako o hano, mahalo nui iaia, me kona hiki ana mai, hoike ana mai hoi I kona mumana o kona mo o lelo pono I hono me ka lo a Nohona. A peia pu me ku'u hoa maka ho'o ka hiko oi hoi o ai ku'u hoa Kalehua me kona mau mana'o aka mai o mea kahea wau iaia ke make wau e wala au I ke kanaka ui o ki aka mai. Nalila, aloha no oi e Kalehua.
Nalila o hano ma.
Ai. Ai. Nolila. Wahiki mai. Oia. Aloha no olua. Maile Naehu. Yeah, I was just doing the goodbyes. I didn't know what to do. We didn't know what to do. So yeah.
No, we got cut off. I'm so sorry. Mahalo.
That's okay.
We wanted to leave without saying nothing and come back.
And then come back and see how you guys know how to act.
Yeah, we just checking.
We're just checking.
We
yes, Sola. Yes, Sola. Yeah. Okay. Malo nui, yeah.
Yeah, mahalo everybody, and yeah, this was awesome. Mahalo nui. Ahuiho.
Hey, Kaliko and Kalihua. Again, I love you guys. And whenever you guys like bring the keiki over here, let us know. Come visit.
Aloha no.
Ha'olako ya'oi. They miss you, bro. Miss you guys, bro.
Tell them I was crying, bro. I miss them, bro.
Oh, they watching you. They're probably laughing right now.
I love you guys. I love you guys.
We love you.
Oh, yeah.
We love you, Anakala.
Oh,
Aloha no, lena ni ahuiho.
Hi, huiho kapi. Aloha nui kako, ea.
Aloha.
Yo.
Oh, look at all the Kiki's voices. Ahuiho.
Huiho. Hey, aloha kani. Hey.
Oh, it's like K-H-O-N, huh? Aloha.